Alright, welcome to Nosy Joe's Motovlog. We're at round 5, Richardsville Rumble. Richardsville's about, 10 miles northwest of Bowling Green. Starting out here in row 15, we just watched the first 14 rows have a little trouble up here on this turn as they were sliding out. The ground was still frozen underneath the shade there that hadn't got direct sunlight. I try to take it wide and I end up out of bounds here, so I'm very slow getting into the woods because I can't get back on the course. So I'm back on the course now. We drop in and I think there's about 13 bikes actively racing. I think there was 16 registered, but guys, I'd say I'm probably 9th or 10th at best right at the moment. It's a high of 45 and sunny, which was really perfect racing conditions, but the thing to keep in mind, and you always forget about it going into these winter races, is we'd had freezing temperatures a lot this week and even the night before, so even though that top surface was maybe decent, there was some frozen ground underneath, and that becomes a factor in many places. That's why that first 90-degree turn was kind of rough. I'm on my 2003 Suzuki DRZ 400E. Those of you watching my last video, I talked about maybe messing with my suspension settings, but I decided to leave them exactly where they're at, and I'm happy for it. I was worried that maybe my rebound was too fast on the forks, but when you get into this slow, bumpy stuff, getting that fork back to, or basically your front tire back making contact as soon as possible is, I think, the best combination for good front end traction. Didn't really struggle at all. Makes the bike a little bouncing, but the hold up that you get over the rough stuff balances out. So this is 3 races in a row where I haven't even touched my tire pressure. I'm thinking about maybe doing an oil change. That's the kind of maintenance interval you get out of a DRZ. So they cut a lot of fresh single track for us, and kind of makes it hard to pass during these portions of the race. Sloppy spots here and there. So it's going to be slow making any progress around these guys. Looking for opportunities to get around. Follow this little, I think it's KDX maybe. Turns out to be a good move. Yeah, KDX. It's cool seeing those out there. Another victim of the random frozen spots in the shade. Yeah, this you needed to stay high. It took me a while to figure that out, but you needed to stay on the high side because the low side was slick. You see him starting to lose it. So I dropped down in a kind of a pocket here at the bottom before I pick up some speed. A lot of this section here I feel like was last year's course backwards. Watch my video from last year. I think we did those similar sections, but we were going in a different direction. tight. Step behind, I think it's a row 13 guy. I could be doing a little bit better than I am, but gotta be patient, not have unforced errors, as they say. This place there directed me to stay high and left, so I tried to. And I ignored that guy, I guess, but oh, I killed him. Shouldn't have ignored that guy. Lost me a couple, 3 spots there. I could tell I was a little bit rusty. I hadn't ridden since the last race, and I like running in as a high gear as I can, and that's fine. And the DRZ suspension really works great when you do that, but I kind of got caught being lazy on the clutch. Killing it a couple times. The XR600, you didn't have to use no clutch. That engine just kept rotating. Okay, up on a little road, and then they drop us right back down. I'm getting caught up with a mess up in here. Kawasaki's buzzing him, so I'll just follow his lead here. Maybe that'll help me get through. Here it opens up again, but it's kind of slick. Get around one there. I'm just a little wary of these areas because I'm not sure if there's frozen ground based on what we saw at the start. To pick up a couple spots. Eventually a route to the right there opens up, but I take that kind of sharp left. This part was nasty, especially last year, I think. I remember it. We were coming the opposite direction, but off camber with roots. Slick. I want to say I'm now caught up with Jason Lanham. I believe finished 4th in the race. Pretty sure that's him. Oh, and then I kill it. That's again what I was talking about, going too slow and not using my clutch when I'm in too high a gear. I guess so I don't hardly use first anymore. That's good, but you got to keep your momentum. The 400 it'll stall. I mean, it doesn't flame out. It's just that it doesn't have that low end grunt. So Don't need to downshift, but do need to feather the clutch. Basically just ride it like a two-stroke. It's kind of funny, but if you kind of treat it like a two-stroke, it runs really good. Trying to get caught up with Jason again. He's on a YZ250FX. And then we get to this kind of first pile up, which my guess is it's a hill climb, as guys are taking another route up the hill here. I figured I'd stay with Jason, see what he was going to do, but then he didn't really do anything that I could follow, so I decided to go lone. I'm only showing you my first lap, but I do figure out what it is on the second lap and run the actual course hill climb the second lap. And it wasn't any big deal, but the problem was you go completely blind because you hit this, you just go right into the sun, from the shade to the sun at the top of the hill, and then you're not really sure where you're at. So I think that might have been as much a factor as that it was kind of a little kick uphill, but anyway, now I'm stuck on something. Rear tire's just digging a hole. I'll try to lift it up out of there. Kick some stuff down into the hole. Get some traction with. It's been a while since I've been stuck on a hill during a race. First season I got to do that a lot. Well, I got traction. Ghost ride it. Now I need to get back in the race here. Can't quite swing a leg on it from the low side. So there's a good 2 or 3 minutes lost. No, that's not Jason, that's a two-stroke. I was gonna say, that's fine. So I'm a little bit winded after all that. I kind of take it easy. Get a sip of my water. Still think I made it faster through there than some other guys, but whatever progress I was making kind of stopped, I believe, because I don't really think I overtake a whole lot more people in my row this lap, and I'm 7th coming through the end of the first lap. So as far as how I did overall in the race, my second lap was better. I didn't have any big hang-ups. I was able to hit that hill you just saw. In the normal course, there wasn't any big pile-up. I did get blinded at the top, but it just took me a couple seconds to figure out what was going on. So I did like a 30-minute lap, where this is a 32-minute lap. And third lap, I'm picking up some spots. At the end of the second lap, I'm at 5th place. Third lap, I'm doing well, so I'm kind of in my way to the top 5. And I put a hole in my radiator, so I never did get to finish my third lap. So that's what you get, I guess, with radiators. I think the issue with that is you know, I've had bikes with radiators before, and I do have radiator guards on this bike, but the DRZ they're pretty thin. They're not these, nice like billet guards that you see on the more modern two-strokes and stuff. Mine are a Duval or something like that. I need to look into this subject a little bit more and see if I can get some really legitimate, strong radiator guards that can handle the weight of the bike when it falls over. So I haven't cleaned up the bike yet, so I can't really see exactly where the fluid was leaking from, but it was dripping all over my exhaust, steaming everywhere. It wasn't like a hole at the bottom because it was keeping enough in there for the bike to run after it cooled off and everything. I helped some guys on a different hill. You can point it out when we get there. There's a later in the race pile up. So that's what I did with my time while my bike was cooling off. And after that was all over with, I was able to fire it up and basically ride it back to the truck, keeping the RPMs as low as I could. And the trusty DRZ made it back to the truck even with a hole in the radiator. So I think I just need to maybe I just need to fabricate something. I don't know how to TIG weld, but I could make something out of steel. Kind of put a cage around those things. I think you just got, kind of a top-heavy bike, and it's over 300 pounds. I got some scales. I'm like at 305, and when you slap it on its side a few times, it seems to kind of crush those radiators. So gotta do a Kaizen. These downhills were a little bit sketchy because I could see they were in the shade too, so I wasn't sure. A lot of leaves were covering up stuff we couldn't see. This was a troublesome area. I'd kill it again. I'd see bikes stuck there a lot during the race. I just used that far right line. Worked for me. Okay, this is the place that got terrible later in the race, where I hung out and helped bikes get up the hill after my bike died. I mean, it was a little sketchy lap one, but I would never have guessed at this point that it was going to turn into a mess there. One of those things where it just kind of had two spots with a lot of, like that you could kind of get stuck at, and they were really close to each other, so like if you didn't carry your speed through the first one, the second one was gonna grab your rear tire. And only the fastest guys were really making it through there. Like everybody struggled, but when there's a pile up, like nobody has the real run up with any speed to try it like I did there, but it was pretty bad. I think it cost people probably 10 plus minutes on lap 3 and 4. There were a lot of guys that only did a couple laps or less, so it was pretty challenging. Climb again here where you gotta do some turning as you're climbing. I like to get around this KTM. It's funny to kind of hear these small, it's got to be a small bore. The way he's riding that and all the kind of screaming it does. The DRZ just kind of like it's on a casual run. A little downhill here. Doesn't look like much on video, and it really wasn't that much, but again, just kind of worried about was anything frozen. Guys go around. So that's like row 1 type speed there, so I'm already getting lapped. Haven't even finished the first lap and I'm getting lapped. That's kind of fine with me. I thought about this. It's like the speeds at which I wreck, I don't really break bones or anything. I'm okay with that. Does well out in the open, but then there's more technical spots I'm getting caught up behind it here. Losing my momentum. Trying to miss the guy on the right too. So this is pretty cool. When I take the path around these guys, felt like a hard enduro guy doing that. That put me up about 3 spots. That's what I should do. I should take the DRZ to TKO. I don't think it would do that bad. It would wear me out if I had to pick it up too much. I wouldn't make it past prologue in the first race anyway. As I've done that before, and as an amateur rider, if you can make it to race 2, that's pretty good for one thing. Just you've done race 1 the first day, and I mean, you're just worn out. So even if you did qualify for race 2, nobody has any energy to race it. The good riders get to pre-qualify past all that stuff. Okay, about 6 minutes left in the lap. This kind of tells me how far I've gotten behind, because once I made it past those 3 or 4 bikes, now there's just nobody ahead of me, so that means I've got quite a gap to make up. Going too slow for too long. Kawasaki. Speaking of Kawasaki's, the two 450s that are in my class didn't show up this race, which was helpful for my point standing. Even though I broke down, I didn't lose that much in the placings, in the rankings. And this will be one of my drop races, I hope. Hopefully I don't have worse than a 7th going forward, but even with it still counting, it's not hurting me that much. On these winter series, a lot of it's just a matter of who shows up and how often they show up. So far I haven't missed anything, so that's helping me. Talking to Steve Gastineau before the race, he had done real well in round 1 and then had to miss a few, and then he came back for this race. But for the series, he missed too many races, so it's kind of a bummer. He did real well in this race too. I think he got 3rd. He's on a beta cross trainer with now KYB forks on there. Real sweet little setup. Tell you what though, these 49mm Showas on this DRZ, non-upside down, right side up, whatever you want to call them, I think they're kind of hard to beat for this slow stuff. It's a little soft and bouncy on the faster races, but there's nothing wrong with these forks. And these aren't even specially valved, they just got the springs in them for my weight. And I've had some Austrian bikes, and I've had a beta, and I've had, of course, had the Honda XR. Only had like 46 or 43mm forks or something like that. This DRZ has the best forks of any bike I've ridden, or owned, I should say. I've ridden some better stuff. Friends' bikes has got Öhlins. But as far as anything I've owned and ridden regularly, these forks are awesome. of a hop up right there in the middle of that hill. I'm surprised that didn't cause more people problems. I guess you had plenty of time to anticipate it. It was really a fun course. I enjoyed it. I believe we're getting to see a mud bog up here. Yep. So I just decided to pick a line. None of them were great. This turned out to be fine. It's the beta. I thought so too. They ended up redirecting that later in the race, and that happened, I think, during the second lap. And they had guys telling you, hey, don't go this way, go left, and I did. But then there was like, you couldn't see anybody telling you where to go. So I just kind of ended up among the spectators and had to ask them where bypass was. So then there was a tree down up here, halfway down, that kind of made that sketchy. It smelled good though. It's a bit of a fir, pine, or evergreen. And then we see the timing trailer in sight. A couple little ruts to maneuver around and go through timing. That'll be it. We'll be in 7th for this lap and end up 9th in the race. See you guys at round 6. Later.